What would drive a man with a perfect life, a wealthy family, a top-tier education, a seemingly bright future to commit murder? This is the perplexing story of Luigi Mangione, a man who had everything, yet is now at the center of a shocking crime that has everyone talking. Just recently, the quiet upscale neighborhood of Pleasantville, New York, was rocked by a tragedy. United Healthcare's former CEO, Brian Thompson, was found dead in a brutal attack right outside the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect? Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old with a dual degree in engineering and applied mathematics from the prestigious University of Pennsylvania. This isn't your typical crime story. Mangione comes from a prominent family in Towson, Maryland. His father is a senior executive at a major U.S. company, and his mother runs a successful business. He grew up in a multi-million-dollar home, attended the best schools, and by all accounts, was destined for success. So, what went wrong? The police investigation painted a chilling picture. Surveillance footage captured a masked man, later identified as Mangione, loitering near the hotel for hours. He was seen using a stolen license plate on his car and was eventually tracked down in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he was found with a gun and a silencer. The evidence seems to be stacking up. But here's where the story takes a fascinating and deeply troubling turn. As news of the murder spread, something unexpected happened. Online, many people didn't just express shock. They voiced a strange sense of understanding, even support for the alleged killer. Why? Because the victim, Brian Thompson, was the former CEO of one of America's largest health insurance companies. This case has tapped into a deep well of public anger and frustration with the American healthcare system. People shared stories of denied claims, exorbitant costs, and the feeling of being powerless against giant corporations. A manifesto, allegedly written by Mangione, was discovered online. It wasn't a rambling, incoherent tirade. Instead, it was a well-argued, detailed critique of the health insurance industry. The manifesto, titled "The Social Contract," argues that insurance companies have broken their promise to society. He wrote about how they profit by denying necessary care, leaving people to suffer. He even cited specific examples and data, using his analytical skills to build a case against the entire system. It reads less like a killer's confession and more like a desperate academic paper. Did Mangione see himself as some kind of vigilante, a crusader against corporate greed? It's a question that has ignited a fierce debate. On one hand, you have a violent crime, a man's life tragically cut short. On the other, you have millions of people who see a reflection of their own struggles and frustrations in the suspect as alleged motives. Friends and acquaintances described Mangione as brilliant but socially awkward, a quiet person who kept to himself. He was known for his incredible intelligence, but also for being a bit of an outsider. Could this isolation, combined with a powerful sense of injustice, have pushed him over the edge? Was he fighting a personal battle, perhaps related to a family member's experience with the healthcare system? The police are still investigating this possibility. This case is so much more than a simple murder. It's a story about privilege, anger, and a broken system. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. How did we get to a point where someone with every advantage in life could allegedly resort to such a desperate act? And what does it say about our society when so many people can sympathize with that desperation? As the legal proceedings unfold, the world will be watching. Is Luigi Mangione a cold-blooded killer, or is he a tragic product of a system that many feel has failed them? The answer is likely complex, and it's one that might not fit neatly into a courtroom verdict. This story isn't just about one man. It's a mirror reflecting the deep cracks in the American dream. What are your thoughts on this? It's a complicated issue, and I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the events shaping our world. Around 2022, Luigi Mangione began suffering from a debilitating spinal condition. Friends noticed he began to withdraw from social life. He stopped making regular appearances. His posts became more erratic. In early 2023, he had spinal fusion surgery, a major procedure to correct his condition. By multiple accounts, after the surgery, Mangione felt his recovery was not what he had hoped for. He continued to experience pain. He felt like the system had failed him. He traveled to Hawaii for a period, seemingly searching for peace and clarity. He then essentially disappeared from his social circle. Now here's where it connects. When he was arrested, investigators found on him a handwritten manifesto, several pages long. In it, Mangione described his actions as a response to what he called the parasitic and heinous nature of the American health insurance industry. He wrote, and I am paraphrasing here, that United Healthcare represented a company that had caused the immense suffering of millions through systematic denial of legitimate medical claims. He acknowledged the violence was extreme, but he believed in his mind that it was necessary. Now, I am not saying his actions were justified. What happened to Brian Thompson was a tragedy. Brian Thompson was a human being with a family. He left behind a wife and 2 sons. But I want you to ask yourself something important. Why did so many Americans, millions of them, feel a complicated reaction when they heard this story? Within hours of Luigi Mangione's arrest, social media exploded. Not with universal condemnation, but with something far more uncomfortable: sympathy. Millions of Americans began sharing their own stories. Stories of insurance companies denying cancer treatments, denying surgeries, denying medications, leaving families financially destroyed or simply left to die. And the numbers don't lie. United Healthcare, the company Brian Thompson led, has been publicly reported to have one of the highest claim denial rates among major insurers in the United States. A congressional investigation in 2024 found that major insurers, including United Healthcare, were using AI-driven systems to auto-deny claims at scale, sometimes overriding doctors' recommendations. Brian Thompson himself had overseen significant growth at United Healthcare. The company posted $22 billion in profits in 2023 alone, while simultaneously, policyholders were having chemotherapy denied, wheelchairs denied, mental health care denied. I'm not assigning blame to one man for an entire system, but I want you to understand why this case became more than a murder story. It became a mirror, held up to the face of an industry that millions of Americans feel is quietly killing them. Does that make you think differently about what happened? Tell me in the comments, where do you stand on this? Luigi Mangione was charged in New York State with first-degree murder, as well as multiple additional counts including illegal weapons possession. But it didn't stop there. In February 2025, federal prosecutors announced they would pursue federal charges, including murder with a firearm, charges that carry the possibility of the federal death penalty. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His defense team has indicated they will challenge the case aggressively, and the trial is expected to be one of the most high-profile legal proceedings in recent American history. This case is far from over, and as it moves toward trial, it is forcing a national conversation that many powerful people will prefer we didn't have. In the weeks following the arrest, something extraordinary happened in American public life. People began protesting outside insurance company offices. Congress members from both parties began holding emergency hearings on insurance claim denial practices. Brian Thompson's murder had ripped open a wound that had been festering for decades. And Luigi Mangione, whatever verdict history assigns to him, had inadvertently become the face of that wound. This story is not black and white. It is not simply a story of a villain and a victim. It is a story about what happens when people feel unheard, when they feel crushed by a system too large to fight, when desperation replaces hope. And the question I want to leave you with is this: in a country as wealthy as the United States, why are millions of people one diagnosis away from financial ruin? And what will it take before something actually changes? I don't have that answer, but I think it's the most important question this case has raised. That is the story of Luigi Mangione. A story about one man, one act of violence, and a system millions of people are screaming about. I want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the healthcare system needs radical change? Do you think this case will actually lead to reform? And what do you think should happen to Luigi Mangione? Let's have the real conversation. If this video made you think, if it made you feel something, then please hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. And if you're not subscribed to Dark Files yet, what are you waiting for? We cover the cases, the conspiracies, and the stories that actually matter. Every single week, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Asterisk, stay curious, stay questioning. Asterisk, asterisk, this is Dark Files, asterisk,